Imagine this. You're driving home after dinner with your family. Then out of nowhere, red and blue lights pop up in your rear view. You're getting stopped. In your head, you're thinking, okay, maybe I was a little quick, but I don't think I did anything actually wrong. You pull over, and because you're a legal gun owner, you're naturally polite. You're trying to do the right thing. A lot of folks believe transparency is your best friend. The officer walks up, and he hits you with the question, do you have any weapons in the car? Right there, that's the trap. Because if you answer the way most people do, you just handed them the cleanest excuse to do three things. Control you, separate you from your vehicle, and start fishing for a reason to search. And in a minute, I'm going to give you the exact sentence to say. A sentence that protects you without looking sketchy. And we're also going to break down the firearm possession rules across the country. Because disclosure rules change depending on what state you're standing in. Before we even talk guns, let's talk real life. Traffic stops come with obligations. In almost every state, you're expected to provide your driver's license, and usually, registration and proof of insurance too, if they ask for it. And please, save the comments about the right to travel stuff. Well, Mark, I'm not engaged in a business, so I don't have to provide my... Stop, just stop. That's nonsense. If you actually believe that, go educate yourself on what right to travel really means. It has nothing to do with driving without a driver's license. It's about traveling between states and being treated properly there. It's about international travel. It is not a cheat code for traffic laws. Get that out of your head. That right to travel crowd usually creates more problems than they solve. And they turn a simple traffic stop into an arrest, refusal to identify, obstruction of justice. So dump that mindset. The mindset you want at a traffic stop is simple. Comply physically. Don't volunteer legally dangerous information, because the roadside is not where you win the argument. It's where you avoid extra charges. So here's your quick safety routine. Pull over safely. If it's nighttime, turn on the interior dome light. Keep your hands on the wheel where the officer can see them. And if the officer asks you to grab something, narrate your movement. I'm reaching to the glove box for my registration. Now here comes the question that changes everything. When the officer asks, any weapons? You hear that computer keyboard clicking, and your answer depends on where you are in the United States of America. To make it easy, we're breaking this into three buckets. Bucket 1, duty to inform. The clean example here is Texas. If you're pulled over, you have a duty to inform the officer you have a firearm in your possession as part of having that permit. There can be slight variations, but generally Texas is a duty to inform state. Bucket 2, inform if asked. Some states don't require you to volunteer it, but if the officer asks you directly, you may have a duty to answer. That depends on the state, and sometimes even your permit status. States like New York and Florida fall into this category. Bucket 3, no duty to disclose. This is where people have the most options, but it's also where people talk themselves into a search. Indiana is a good example of a no duty to disclose state, and here's what that means for everyone watching. The law might not require you to announce you have a firearm, but the moment an officer learns a gun is involved, the stop changes. Which brings us to the biggest question. Why does officer knows you have a gun so often turn into officer tries to search the car? The reason is simple. It's human psychology, plus basic police training. The second you say, I have a gun, three things happen instantly. Number 1, threat perception spikes, even if you're legal, even if you're calm, even if you're doing everything right. The officer's brain goes, unknown person plus gun equals potential danger. That ramps up adrenaline, that ramps up caution, and most importantly, that ramps up the officer's desire for control. And what does control look like? Step out of the vehicle. Where is the gun located? Keep your hands where I can see them. I'm going to secure that firearm for now. Number 2, their legal toolbox gets bigger. Once officer safety is on the table, officers know they can do a lot more. They can order you out of the car on a lawful traffic stop. They can pat you down if they believe you may be armed and dangerous. And in some situations, they can do a limited weapon sweep of areas you could lunge toward. So what do they need to justify the next steps? They need facts, facts they can describe later. He was nervous. He wouldn't answer questions. He made movements. His story didn't line up. This was a high crime area, so I was on alert. I suspected impairment. And yeah, some of those are contradictory. It's kind of wild. He was nervous. He was abnormally calm. Some are silly. Some are inconsistent. But the reality is this. An officer can stack innocent facts together, mix it with training and experience, and claim it supports suspicion. So anything you say can be used against you. And I always see people in the comments trying to be funny. They'll say something like, "Your mom's house." Listen, I love a good joke, but the side of the road with an officer is not the time for stand-up comedy. That's just me. Mileage may vary. People tell me, "I got out of a ticket because I made them laugh." Okay, maybe, but I advise against trying to be the entertainer during a traffic stop, especially with police. Keep that in mind, because the questions they ask and the answers you give feed into number 3, building a story that supports searching your vehicle. Now, if the officers don't have probable cause, there are 2 easy ways they still get a search. Number 1, you consent. Number 2, they create enough suspicion to extend the stop and escalate. And the number 1 way they get consent? Social pressure. You don't mind if I take a look, right? If you've got nothing to hide, you don't mind me searching, right? Help me understand why you're so nervous. Is there anything in this car that shouldn't be there? Those questions are designed to make you feel like you have to prove you're a good guy. But listen, you don't talk your way out of a search. You talk your way into one. So here's the cleanest way to handle this. Based on your state bucket, if the officer knows or suspects you've got a weapon, those questions are rarely casual. They're usually about creating permission or creating suspicion. So once you've been stopped, you handed over your license, you complied with your state's duty to inform law if it applies, and the officer keeps digging, let's deal with that. First question, where are you coming from? It's not because they care, it's because they want to lock you into a story they can pick apart later. So your safe response to, "Where are you coming from?" is, "I plead the 5th. That might sound aggressive, but exercising your rights is not aggression. And the officer who gets mad at you for using your rights is exactly the officer you need to use your rights against. Some people say the better line is, "I don't answer questions." I can see that coming back and biting you, because you do answer questions later. So I say, "I plead the 5th. It's clear. It's direct. It's your 5th Amendment. Second question, anything illegal in the car? This one is nasty, because if they find anything, even something that isn't yours, they can claim you lied. And people always tell me, "Mark, I know exactly what's in my car. I don't mind if they search." No, there is no way you know everything that's in your vehicle. Impossible. Somebody could have tossed trash in there. A passenger could have left something under a seat. Something could slide into a cushion. There's zero chance you know it all. So if an officer asks, "Anything illegal in the car?" I plead the 5th. Again, I plead the 5th. It's like a multi-tool. It's amazing. I love it. Third trick question. You wouldn't mind if I take a look, right? This one is brutal, because however you answer, yes or no, they twist it into permission. He said no, nothing illegal, so I can look. He said yes, meaning it was okay to search. No, don't play that game. Say this. I don't consent to searches. That's it. Simple. Direct. Body cam catches it. No room to misinterpret. I do not consent to searches. Fourth trick. More like a statement. I'll just call a canine. Listen, officers cannot extend a completed traffic stop just to wait on a dog, without separate reasonable suspicion. So what do? They try to manufacture reasonable suspicion through your answers, your nerves, your movements, especially once they know a gun is involved. And they know a lot of people get nervous around dogs, or police dogs in particular. So some folks panic and say, "Just search then," if it avoids the dog. No, if they start saying that, don't fight them. Just repeat, "I do not consent to searches," like a broken record. Fifth trick, the attitude bait. Some officers push buttons on purpose. Because an emotional driver makes mistakes, they get loud. They start reaching around. They start arguing. They say something dumb like, "Go ahead, search, I don't care." In that moment, your job is to be a broken record. Polite, calm, short, consistent. Because sometimes court turns into a popularity contest, and officers look terrible when you're respectful and steady, and they're acting like a fool. So stay polite, stay calm, keep it tight. I plead the fifth. I don't consent to searches. So here's the roadside handbook if you're carrying a weapon in the car. Number 1, know what state you're in. The officer walks up. Know your obligation. If you're in a must disclose state, disclose. If you're in a disclose if asked state, and they ask, disclose. If you have no legal obligation, keep your mouth shut. Keep your hands on the wheel. When the officer asks for license, registration, all that fun stuff, narrate your movements. Officer, my documents are in the glove box. How would you like me to proceed? If they ask to search, I do not consent to any searches. If the questions keep coming, I plead the fifth. Then step 4 is the 2 clock questions. If the stop is dragging out, ask this. Am I being detained? Am I free to go? Repeat it as needed. Now here's a critical rule. If you are carrying and the officer wants to secure your firearm, let him. But I caution anybody watching this video, never handle a firearm in the presence of an officer. Because if anything goes wrong and you're touching a firearm with an officer present, the officer can do almost anything to you, and he won't be punished or held responsible in any capacity, all in the name of officer safety. If the officer wants to secure it, tell him where it is. Let him retrieve it. And if he says, hand it to me, tell him this. I'm not comfortable touching that firearm in your presence. I'll tell you where it's at. And you can secure it yourself, officer. Hands up. Make sure he sees your hands. You do not want him thinking you're moving toward that gun. Trust me on this. Key line is, officer, I'm not going to touch it. You are welcome to secure it. Remember, the side of the road is not the place to win cases. Comply physically, assert your rights verbally, and document what happens. If you watch this long, man, you must like me at least a tiny, tiny bit. So I'd encourage you to subscribe, like this video, and drop a comment. Let me know if you like this blue shirt. I can't tell. This jacket is kind of wrinkled already. I'm not a huge fan of that. It's also important to note, I am a lawyer, but I'm not your lawyer. You need a lawyer in your state who can answer questions for your state. That's so important. And know a lawyer before you need a lawyer. Isn't that crazy? Have a relationship. And most importantly, and I believe this with all my heart, remember to always plead the fifth.